introduce my guest. Is my boss, right? And I will say It was my first chief data officer while I was at Azon. So he was so helpful. I would say he contributed immensely to my career, and he has traveled far and wide. I'm just going to do a brief intro. Sorry, if you just give me that opportunity. Please, 1 minute. I put this up already. Okay, so Mr. Rashid he was the COO, Chief Operating Officer at Retailer. Then afterwards, he became the head of research, data science, and software management as GDM. GDM is a very well-known company in Lagos. Then he became the chief data officer at Zazon Tech. As the chief data officer. Then later on, he also joined. He was a member of the board of directors. It was once the big education platform in Lagos, Eco Innovation School, one of the best um, digital school in Lagos. He was the provost, and currently he is the founder and the chief business officer at The Aggregate. The Aggregate is a company that is into helping companies, helping businesses, gather data, no matter what the data is. I was pitching that to a friend of mine. He wanted to. He's working on some project, and I said I have a very very valuable company that can do that for him. So the aggregate is one of the best. If you are looking for, even for any participants that are joining, if you want to venture into a project or maybe a big project, the aggregate is your go-to. Registered in United States and Nigeria. So so you can see that without saying much, this we have in the house a veteran. He's have over 10 years experience in the data space. He's been in the game for years. We call him a veteran in the game. I'm glad to have you. So yeah, you can just drop a comment to welcome Mr. Rashid. He's been busy, and you can see he has to just squeeze out time to ensure he's there to pour out his mind and educate the people. Yeah, so that's it. I don't know if you want to add something, Mr. Rashid, just yeah, as
Yeah,
an introduction.
thank you very much. I hope everybody can hear me, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just very honored to be here, So because Michael has been a very great guy, right? I want to just thank you again for putting effort, not just because you introduced me, but because you put so much effort to actually get to all of this together, and then making sure that people could come up and speak about data and all of that, right? Basically. So for me, I think he has done all of the introduction that he needs to do, basically, right? But again, while I'm trying to talk about my background, right, you will understand some certain things about why it's easier for some people to get into the data space at a very earlier time, and then they get along, they can actually do anything, and I can boldly tell you, I don't learn things because I want to learn. I learn things because I want to solve problems, because there's nothing you want to bring in the data space today that people talked about so many things, right? When I want to solve problem, I just land my hand on that thing and I start using that software or any tool that anybody want to use around the world. Because the reality is, I have a background in demography and statistics, and I have been writing statistical programming language right from university days in the University of Ife, and that is just the background for me, right? So I understand data right from the school days, right? So getting into the space of data, and all of that, even when there's not much around so many things around data like this, it has been a very nice beginning. So I think he has done a lot of introduction, about me. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining this call.
Yeah, thank you so much, boss. Thank you for honoring us. So let me just start right away. The first thing is we are discussing understanding business needs as a data professional. So my first question will have to be that Now, what are the principles, the guiding business principles that a data professional should know, right? Because I discovered that a lot of newbies now, fine, which is good. At least you learn as you grow. You just see that people are just pushing out, they just push out dashboard. Hey, I did this dashboard. I just built this. I use this data. Now, and in as we are having a more people joining the data space, it is very important that the competition becomes stiffer, because now it's not just about building nice dashboard. Now you have to bring in something extra. So which is why I think people need to also understand the business side of things. When you build a dashboard, do you understand? Because if you don't understand the business side, you won't be able to think like a business person. You'll be able to give them the metrics and the KPIs that will really drive that business forward. So I want you to help us. What are the guiding principles, like business principles, as a data professional that they should know? So yeah, I don't
Yeah,
even
for me,
understand the
right?
question. So what are the business principles that a data professional should know first before even saying, yeah, I want to, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michael. Right. So I'm not sure. I wanted to present a slide before, right? But again, I've seen that a lot of people are going to drop questions and all of that. But again, I can still do, right? So just looking at your question, for every question you're going to be asking me, right? I'm going to be answering this question with cited examples of consulting with multinationals over the years, right? So, and I'm going to start your question by me consulting for Nestle PLC from 2017 to 2018, right? Nestle Nigeria, right? So the first thing everybody must understand is really, because I've spent about 7 years in the FMCG industry, right, consulting for different multinationals over the years, right? So um, the first thing you must know is when you join a business, right? No business values you, right? But no matter who you are, whether you are a data analyst, you're a data scientist, you're a data officer, or, data engineer, or anybody you're going to call yourself, right? No company values you if you cannot add 1 naira to the revenue of that company. And that's the reality. And I've told a lot of people this. Have told a lot of people. I've said it to a lot of people. People don't understand it. People just feel I'm just going to be a data analyst. You can forever be a data analyst, and the company does not value you, right? And let me just give you an instance, right? So when I joined
Hmm.
Exxon Holdings in 2017, right? I met a guy who was going to, there's a company the top company that turned to boats. I've forgotten the name. Yeah, there's a company that turned to boats, helium driving boats
Oh
and all of
wow.
that. Yeah, so the guy was leaving
Yeah.
for that company that I've forgotten the name, very popular name. They were competing with Uber that time. They just came in, everybody just came in that time. Uber and all those guys just came in, and the guy was leaving. And they were managing a project in Exxon Holdings with Nestle PLC, and they're doing about 120,000 stores across Nigeria. And they're aggregating data from 120,000 stores every blessed day. And what are these data all about? These data are all about, how much are the drop size of Nestle products in these
Hmm.
120,000 stores across Nigeria, right? And then they are trying to
Mhm.
ensure that Nestle PLC have visibility in all these 120,000 stores. They have a database application, that they use in collecting this data, and they have food soldiers out there who are gathering this data. And when this data comes to the back end, you know how voluminous the data is going to look like. A data record, just one single data record could have approximately 42 data points, right? So,
Wow.
and imagine this data coming in, and you need to ensure that you are doing analysis, right? So, sometimes I come to the office on Sundays to ensure that this data is being fetched well and it's being analyzed and all of that. But there's something I realized, my first 2 3 weeks, working on this data and throwing analysis does not make sense to anybody. It does not make sense to anybody. There's a visibility manager, national visibility manager, I can remember Mr. Shok Madelege and the likes, Mr. Tayo in Nestle, and then the country manager of Nestle Chandana and the likes. We needed to work with them that time. And most of the analysis I was doing does not really make sense to anybody, right? And
Hmm. mm,
I begin to now, because when you enter a company, you're going to have people who are actually running the project. You just come in as a data analyst.
mm,
And I begin to now entering the shoes of all these guys who are actually running the project and understand the business
mm,
implication of which of the analysis that I'm running. So at the end of the day,
mm,
I am supposed to actually manipulate some data because, it will not make sense when it gets to these guys, right? So
mm,
and we're really consulting, for them. So again, I need to understand what exactly some certain nomenclature means, what is must-have goods, what is good to have product, what is SKU gaps. I need to
mm,
understand everything, which are basic parameters that the company has set as a standard for every store in the neighborhood and open market, for Nestle, right? And that's, numbers coming
mm,
together, and those parameters, comes down to give Nestle what exactly is the value of a store. One, for that store to get rewarded, to get reward, for to know what volume does that store contribute to the value of sales. Because at the end of the day, right, whether it's Tesla, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Google, whether it's AWS and all that, right? Whether it's Amazon, the most important thing for any company out there around the world is sales. Forget about all you do. Forget about Power BI. Forget about Tableau. Forget about anything that you're doing. The ultimate goal of any company is to get revenue because that's where they will pay you. So again, I need to learn all these things. I need to learn all the set parameters. I need to now put those things into what we call, call outs. We call them call outs in the presentations, right? Defining some of these call outs in the presentation makes my analysis now, something very, fantastic to, the country manager of Nestle PLC, to
mm,
the sales director, to the national visibility manager. And I became like and that was the first time I was trying to build a one pager dashboard in Excel, basically, right? There were not much people who were doing
mm,
that in Excel that time. We talk about 2016, 2017, guys who are even creating communities now, bigger communities now, are just joining the data space then, right? So, and then I have been engaging multinationals to help them see data, out. So again, the bottom line is the guiding principle is understand every business parameters that leads to sales
mm, mm.
and
I
analyze
get
your
that.
data,
Mm,
based on that. So if you cannot tell a story that tell people how to sell, man, you're not doing it.
Hmm. I hear that. Understand every business parameter. So if I get that right now, meaning every business has its own specific parameter. So you don't just come in as a data analyst and then treat every business. Oh, I've built a dashboard for company A. Let me build a dashboard for company B without first understanding the business principle guiding that company B, so that you build something scalable and something useful for that company.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you
So
so
just
much.
to,
Thank
just
you
to,
so
just to buttress that, Michael, right?
much.
I will just give you a very clear example of what you just said now, right? I
Hmm,
have managed Friesland Campina, Nigeria. I'm currently managing them. We're doing about 173 modern trade stores across Nigeria with them
hmm,
now, right? Gathering data from all the stores. We fire off some time to get some things done as well, execution and other things, basically. Right? And what am I trying to say?
hmm,
Right? I've managed Nestle, I have managed Friesland Campaigner, three different cycles and with cohort of people who have worked in Friesland Campaigner. And I can tell you, these two companies are dairy company. They are dairy company, right? They produce milk,
hmm,
beverages, and the likes. And I can tell you the business parameters of Friesland Campaigner is completely different from the business parameter of Nestle business. And you have to just do all the analysis based on what every other person understand to get them to where they could sell.
hmm, hmm, Massive, massive. I hear that. Thank you so much for that elaborate explanation. And I want to believe we are getting something already. I'm also learning, just ensure you are not just building out anything. That's one thing. Ensure that you understand business parameters before building out anything. Ensure you understand the intricacy of the business. Every business differs. So if you are building a sales dashboard, you see the data online, and you are building another sales dashboard from another, understand. So it doesn't mean it's a sales dashboard and a sales data, and then you saw another sales data. It doesn't mean you have to build out the same dashboard with with those two data. They are different. The intricacies are different, and you have to treat it
Yeah.
as such. Thank you so much. My next question will be that now, because if you now understand the parameters, now how do you now align your data skill with what a business wants? And the reason why I'm asking that is, I've seen guys build out very beautiful dashboard, very beautiful, right? But when you check what they've built, maybe few KPIs that speaks to what the business wants. And if you ask them, okay, do you understand the business? Yes, to some extent, the way they answer the question, so I think they understand the business. They know what the business is driving at. But now bringing it into what they are building becomes an issue. So in this place now, I want you to help us. How do you now align your skill, your data skill, your dashboard skill, how you can build DAX and the rest for depending on the visual tool, or depending on the, even if you are a data engineer, data scientist, how do you now, because a data scientist can just keep churning out models that will not really make sense. A data engineer can just keep doing transformations and the rest, and that will not really make business sense. So how do you now align that data skill to the business need? Thank you.
Yeah, so again, right? So I am going to, answer your question by just, sharing something, maybe present something to these guys, right?
Okay.
Online, basically. So again, so let me just tell you something. I don't think data analysis, right from what I've studied for 4 years and I've been studying for over 12 years now, is actually dashboard. Dashboard is different from data analysis, right? I've trained so many guys around the world, and I don't think doing dashboard is called data analysis, right? Right, because there are different ways people could do
Hear that.
dashboard, right?
Hmm.
I can boldly tell you I have guys who use UI UX, which is Figma, to build dashboard. I can tell you I have guys excellent finance dashboard. And I can boldly tell you I have guys who build dashboard with Canva. I don't know if you've used Canva. Anybody who is familiar with
Yeah, yeah,
Canva?
yeah,
I have
yeah,
guys
yeah.
who build excellent dashboard with
Exactly.
Canva.
Hmm,
Right?
hmm,
I can
hmm,
tell you guys who can build excellent dashboard with PowerPoint, right?
hmm,
So the dashboard in itself, right, is not data analysis, right?
hmm, hmm. I
But
hear
data
that.
analysis goes beyond dashboard. And I can tell you boldly, the only thing that should actually align your skills with business is that align, or let me say, forget about skills first. Align your problem solving thinking toward business, right? Because you just need to solve problem. Nobody cares about how you solve that problem.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
And the reality is, I can boldly tell you, 80% of top management, leaders really do not have 20 minutes to be looking at dashboard.
I agree. I agree.
They do
Hmm,
not have it. I am a
hmm,
founder. I am a leader. I've done it
hmm,
over and over and over. Right?
hmm,
I'm running a business now. I do not
hmm,
have time for anyone to actually send a dashboard to me. Right?
hmm,
So
hmm,
business leaders really don't have 20 minutes of their time looking
hmm,
at your dashboard and how fine it is because
hmm,
they have to pay salary by the end of the month. What
hmm,
matters
hmm,
to them is what revenue do I
hmm,
generate by the end of the month, right?
hmm,
And just tell
hmm,
me a story, right? In
hmm,
fact, people would not look at your dashboard, they're just hearing the story you are telling and how
hmm,
that story is actually solving a problem
hmm,
for
hmm,
business.
hmm,
And there are two ways you can
hmm,
solve problems, right? Forget about dashboard, forget about skills, right? just have a critical thinking capacity and problem solving skills that can actually solve a problem for a company. And I can tell you clearly, I've been in
mm,
the data space for 12 years, and sometimes I don't solve problem by building dashboard. I don't solve
mm,
problem by building dashboard.
mm.
I can
I
tell
can
you
I
quickly
can
on
attest. I know when I was there, your problem solving is more. It's not really dashboard thing. Just solve problem, critical
just
problems.
just because the reality is that as a data guy, right? I didn't
Mm,
expect you that all the time you're just drawing a dashboard. What do I use your dashboards to do? What do I do with your
mm,
dashboard? Right? And again, if you are in consulting firm, if you are because when you are working with all these big organizations and all of that, nobody cares about you. You just be a data analyst, you be a data analyst, you be a data analyst. Whether you're working with Globacom, you're working with MTN, you can just be a data analyst if you are not very careful. If you are not asking people, what does this mean? I want to enter this business, right? I want to know what exactly you guys are doing. MTN has actually
mm,
bumped into Momo and the likes and all of that, right? Can you
mm,
understand the Momo business and say, guys, I can drive this business and I have data
mm,
skills, right? And I can solve so many problems that we are seeing every day in this Momo business, right? And
mm,
it could be that you're going to be writing code. You're not actually doing dashboard. And that's the reality. And I'm going to just share something very quick with you, right?
mm, mm,
I we got a gist. I was running my business and I have a parents company. We normally work with big multinationals. So we got a gist from Ambassador some few days ago, right? And then a few months ago that they're going to be running a national consumer promo across Nigeria,
mm,
right? And that national consumer promo will require that we have brand ambassadors who are like field stars of food soldiers. We call them food soldiers in different about 200 plus outlets in the open markets and
mm,
in the modern trade stores across Nigeria, including Maiduguri, right? And then we are going to be gathering data of every consumer who submits a wrapper of Onga Maggie cubes. And then when the data comes in, they want to be seeing the data, extract the data, and ensure that the data is used for a draw, right?
mm,
Certain things that happens, right? And I know for sure that having 200 human beings on the field, right, gathering data, first of all, there will be a lot of errors. And these are people that are not as cerebral as me and you, who are working in great organizations and all of that. These are full soldier, someone who just finished an OND, who just quickly want to do a contract job and the likes. And he really doesn't care. He doesn't see far. He doesn't see the end result. He doesn't see how a very simple mistake, very like just one mistake, how one mistake could
how
affect,
long you can
right?
go?
Could have a real effect of the entire goal of that business, right? The first thing I had to do is the system they're going to be using to gather this data. I needed to first of all write some, simple syntax to ensure that data is well cleaned from the field. And this is how you're solving problem. And this is what is even called data science. Data science is all about you doing something, a great job, from the point where the data is collected, because that's the source of the data. And when the source of the data is wrong, everything will be wrong. Forget about it. So I had to block so many erroneous, information that could come out of the data first. And when the data lands on the system where this data has been collected, I had to write a very low cost. This is another thing. This is another
Mm,
thing. When you enter an organization, right? No organization would want you, especially when it's not Microsoft, Google, when you can be doing a lot of experiments and they're just waiting billions of dollars, right? If you're entering any organization in Nigeria, right, every organization looks for someone who could build solutions with a very low cost. Now, what I did was that I had to write a
mm,
Python
mm,
code, right?
mm,
And
low
I'm going to
cost.
share that with some couple of you guys, right? I'm going to share that now, if possible. Just give me a few minutes, right? I had to write a
Okay.
Python code, right? That's picks data from the back end system, because it's a Django back end system right? But there's API endpoints and tokens that you could use to actually fetch your data. So I had to submit so many documentation overnight to ensure, because these guys will be seeing the data that are coming in already, basically. So let me share just give me some few minutes. So I had to write, a Python code, create a quick data lake where all these guys in Promaxidor can actually, pick their data and they can see their data coming real time, right? So let me see if I can share my screen. Let me
Okay.
see if I can share my screen.
While you share, I just want to reiterate what you said now. That and I want our participant to anyone joining to catch it. So, if I get it right, you said anything you are building must be with the financial capacity of the company you are in mind. Meaning, if you are building anything, don't just build out anything that your company cannot. Even though it's valuable, to you maybe it's valuable, but the company cannot afford it. So in that way, you have not made any sense to the company. You have not added
Yeah,
value.
yeah, of course,
The
of course.
value you're adding must
That's
be in accordance to the pocket, the financial capacity of the company, which is very
yeah,
critical.
that's
Thank you
the
so much.
that's the way. That's the
Thank you so much.
reality. That's the reality. That's just the reality. You have to just understand that, every company you work with, right, have to deal with a lot of things, and then you have to understand that these companies really do not just, want you to just keep building things without you, getting them the value that they need, right? And that's very important for anybody who is building anything at any point in time, right? And then you must ensure that the businesses you are building things for, right? They are looking for how you can add value to their to their businesses, right? And then not just taking much from the businesses. So I'm just going to share with you, right? A quick overview of the code that I need to write. So I know that I can actually build a dashboard, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I can also, sorry, can you see my screen? I think
Yes,
everybody can
clearly,
see my
clearly.
screen.
Yeah, you
Well,
can see.
so these are just the GitHub files that that put out the data, and this is not analysis. This is not dashboard, right? Nobody's
Mm.
building any dashboard. Nobody's building any dashboard here, basically, right? This is just basically creating some values for the company and ensure that data are being fetched real time, right? So I had to build something called a data warehouse, .py. So creating all my virtual environments in Python and all of that. I built a data warehouse, right? And I'm fetching data from a platform called Kobo Toolbox, right? This Kobo Toolbox, it's a platform where you can actually, use for, data gathering and all of that, right? And after fetching my data, and I extracted so many information that I need to extract, and then
Mm.
pull the data into a function and all of that, and then ensuring that the data is well captured and all of that. I mean, the data, it gives me a
Mm.
lump sum of the data. And the reality is, while you are fetching this data, right, you're fetching the data that is on a Postgres server on a different system somewhere, right? And then there are certain things that you need to do in terms of in terms of analysis. So I quickly deploy Streamlit, because I
Mm.
don't think can I deploy, because Streamlit allow you to actually use so many function declarations that allow you to actually cache so many data, cache some resources, and all of that that you need to extract as value and all of that, every time we run this data, basically. And then after I created my data warehouse, I then call something a dashboard, and eventually it's really not a dashboard, right? I call it dashboard.py, a daily dashboard.py. And this daily dashboard.py just give them, currently they are extracting about 60,000 records of data from this code,
Wow.
right? And it's being fed from the backend because it does two batches. This is one batch from that data warehouse, right? I'm using Kudu Extractor. Is a Python wrapper for that particular platform. So you can see that I put something here as time to sleep, right? if you've been in the data space over the years and you're doing running something like a pipeline, which you're not using Airflow and all those platforms, right? If you're not using those
mm,
platforms, because I want to save cost. Because if I'm using Airflow, if I already aggregated
mm,
60,000, I'm
mm,
using full.
mm,
Those guys are going
mm,
to cost me. They are really going to cost
mm.
me.
And
So
company
what
might
I
not be able to afford that, and you are not
yeah,
saving cost that way. Mm,
yeah, yeah. So what I need to do is, I need
mm,
to first of all fetch 30,000 records of data. Then I do my request is going to sleep for 5 seconds. So my request is going to sleep for 5 seconds, and this is what it means by time the sleep, under 5 seconds. Then I'm throwing another request. Yeah. So I'm throwing another request to get me another 30,000 record from where this one stops. And I created two warehouses. This is warehouse one, this is warehouse two. After creating those warehouses, I because they come in JSON, I normalize the JSON using pandas. Right after doing that, I need to actually now bring the data together. The first warehouse data and the second warehouse data, concat them using pandas, and then ignore the index so that the data can come in a very, and I have to remove duplicates of certain things that those guys are still running, and if you see it, this is a practical data. These are data that come
mm,
from across Nigeria. You can see Lorin, Akure, Abuja, Oyo, Ibadan, Lokoja, Lagos, Minna, Kano, Uyo, Benin, Kaduna. You can see Oshobo. You can see
mm,
Maiduguri. This is what it means to work as a data analyst. Forget about the noise out there. If you haven't worked
mm,
on data like this, nobody respects you out there, right? And that's the reality, basically, right? And this is how I had to fetch all the data from all the redemption centers across Nigeria. And then I have to now, set out the columns that I'm going to need from the entire data, because sometimes when data comes from a back end application, it comes with a lot of data points. So it could be 60 data points. I have to fetch the ones that I need and then rename them to something that is clear and it makes sense to people that would actually be fetching the data at the end of the day, basically, right? And I need to do some, function wrappers and functions as well, so actually claim the data based on some, errors that could come,
this is
and when you see
massive.
this
Mm,
decorator, this is
mm,
actually, I'm catching this function to actually not run every time. So
mm,
when
mm,
it runs once, right, it's already cached, the function operator, right, which is actually this, right? This is the function operator. It cached it, so it does not need to, repeat that function every time, and then it's on persistent disk. Basically, you use this persistent disk when you're actually doing something around large language model as well. That's when you use Chroma DB and the likes, just to ensure that the AI does not forget, right, what exactly you are trying to tell him to actually understand. So if you throw something, the reason why we use persistent disk is because when you throw something to AI, for him not to forget, you actually use persistent disk so that it saves it in the longest memory so that it doesn't forget this function, basically. And then I'm doing some sort of quick cleaning here and all of that. And then I use my exception, of function, which is the connection error. If there's no internet on your system, because this is not dashboard. This is an application. It's an application, right? It's a,
eh,
it's a web app where you log in. When you log in, you now see the data, right? So that's how it works, basically. So this is not a dashboard. So when you don't have internet, right, it tells you, some certain information and all of that, right? And then it fetches the data for the company. I'm going to probably show you the back end and what the data looks like at the end of the day and all of that as well. So, and that is just, a quick overview of what exactly you could do, and then if I take you to the daily dashboard itself, where the data, everybody now see the data and all of that, right? You could come here and then very simple code that really doesn't take much of your time, right? So I need to call the warehouse where I have created the warehouse that is here, right? I need to call it in the daily dashboard of Pi. And this is the warehouse, and then this is the function that was inside. So when I call that function, I need to call some, then I can now start doing dashboard, start doing, some plots and all of that in Python, right, and all of that, right? Then I need to, because Streamlit allow used to actually do some HTML and all of that, HTML and CSS, and I need to do some simple HTML, to actually just ensure my backend dashboard makes sense and all of that. And then you can actually use Python code to actually evaluate the total number of certain things, just some metrics and all of that, and then turn those metrics into something that can actually quickly show them just maybe two metrics about the data, and then you give them here, when you come down here and then give them the entire data, they can now fetch the entire data from here and download their data and use it for kind of analysis they want to do. So this is how you solve a problem for some certain companies sometimes, and it's not just dashboard. So again, right? So it's just to answer the question. The question is basically you need to have a very robust skill, right, in the data space. So when you see people posting Tableau, I just look at it. What do I use Tableau for? Some company does not need me sending Tableau to them, dashboard to them. When I see Power BI, some company does not need me sending Power BI to them, right? Some company just need
Mm,
Excel. They just need Excel
mm.
from you. Don't disturb me. Just give me Excel. You can be solving your Power
Totally
BI
true example.
dashboard. Just solve it, right? So and that is just the reality about it. And the bottom line is, right, understand the business. And I can tell you, all of these things that I did it in less than 2 weeks because I understand the business, right?
Business.
And I have experience in this space, right? And that is just one thing that you cannot take away, right? Experience of someone in an industry. If I enter any industry now, I will never sit down with any data analyst. I'm looking for guys who have experience, who are on the field, who have spent so much time in that industry.
To
I don't care who your
gain.
I don't care
Mm,
who a data analyst is basically.
mm, mm, mm.
Even for the fact that I'm a data guy, I don't
Kai,
want to sit
Kai,
down with any data guy. I
Kai,
just want to sit
Kai.
down with the business guy. How far?
What
Where do we make money? How do we make the
is
money
the
for the
pressure?
company? How does it work?
Mm,
And all of it.
mm, mm.
And that's it. Yeah.
All right, so like, yeah, this is so much of knowledge. Is so much. I just want to quickly buttress, and that was why I'm dropping those nuggets in the comment section. Now, and I just want to when you mentioned that it's not about dashboard, it's not what you just showed us now. A lot of code is high level technicality and the rest. So, and I could remember one of my students is here as well on this meeting, and I could remember during one of my sessions with them, I think in Excel session, I told them that there was a project I worked on where I was explaining how you can split, how you can, we worked on a project that time with like demography project that we had to split an address. We turned an address into state LGA local government address. You remember now? So I was now giving them. So I was writing some Excel code, and I was like, wow, this is massive. So just to buttress, and the same thing I could remember. One of my managers, one of the senior managers, right at MTN currently, he had an issue, right? And then he said, "Can I solve this?" And I was able. I remember when we were using his number search to categorize into edges and rest. I just gave it. I said, "Wow, is this still possible in Excel?" And just to protect what you're saying, that is not those things that's not dashboard. These are intricacies, and those projects I did then while I was with you, really helped me. Intricacies of data. So, like the same thing, I can remember when I came in, one of the things that really blew me up among the team, and wow, is this also data? They were wild because now I was showing how you can harness the power of Excel and then Power Query and all this low code tool that you can
Right.
write really good code, as in complex code with them, and you can really analyze with them, even with before building all this the dashboard. And that's why
Yeah.
I just when you mentioned that, I said yes, this is it. So as you are learning, please ensure that first, like he said, you have to anything you are doing, you have to ensure that you are saving money. And I can remember confidence or something happened. When you mentioned Momo, that was why I mentioned this now. Something happened. There's a challenge that they wanted to do, that the company wants to do, and it involves that we um, ensure that any issue, any problem, sorry, any solution you are trying to provide, ensure that it does not cause the company a lot. There are some things that the company has really, even for now, penned, that they are pending that because they need solution that will be on low cost. So if I'm a data professional and I think we provide one and we said, okay, let's do it this way, and we're still doing it to that because it pays the business. So saving the company cost is very important. Not just building alone, not just yes, good to build dashboard. Ensure you are saving, like you said, problem solving, saving the company the cost, not the tool now. Any tool that you are using, ensure that it's in line with what the company wants and it's in line with the company gaining. I learned something from him now. One kobo, every one kobo counts. And I must say thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Because
this.
you must be paid salary now, and you cannot
You
use
must.
that. Salary must
I
be paid.
I agree. Yeah, thank you so much. My next question will be, I think you've answered it anyway, but let me still ask. Will be that okay? You've answered, but let me just maybe you have something to add. How do you think like a business owner? You are because I know you've answered because relating to when you understand the business, but again, there is a standpoint of a business owner. There is a way a business owner will think. That okay, maybe if you want to build a dashboard, a business owner will say, okay, no, maybe you shouldn't do it this way, you should do it this way. So how do you think like a business owner, as even as a data professional? Because I think if you take it from that standpoint, it will really help you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So again, right? Thinking. See, let me. It's not. There's no two way about it, right? Every woman who sits down in Idumota market in Lagos or Maltov market in Lagos just want to sell. Every company that you see out there just want to sell, right? No matter what you are thinking, whether in your dream, whether outside your dream, right? Just be thinking, how can this business, generate more revenue by sales? And how do I contribute a value to generating more revenue for this business, right? And let me tell you one thing, right? If you join a company today, right, in 2016, PwC and KPMG, they are core financial and auditing firm, right? But when Power BI and the likes came into Nigeria 2016, 2015, and 2017, right? We started seeing, some of these businesses pivoting to data analytics consulting, right? And it becomes very weird because people then find it very difficult to defend it. But the reality is KPMG and Deloitte and PwC realized that this is the future of every businesses around the world, right? And they are international companies, right? And they cannot just sit down and be doing auditing and and then doing financial and all of that, advisory and all of that forever in their life. And you realize that some of them enter into the tech space with data consulting, right? And they're doing very fantastic and bigger things now, right? I can remember one of my boy that I trained in 2017 or 2018, who works for Deloitte, and I think he was doing DevOps consulting for Flutterwave UK, and then through Deloitte and the likes, So those guys have also gone, beyond. And the reality is, when you sit down in a company like a financial and auditing advisory, and you become a data analytic consulting person, it's not nobody in that company cares about the dashboard that you are building because it's consulting now. You have to sit down and advise a company who is coming into PwC, because everybody respects KPMG and PwC, right? And you need to now advise. You need to solve so many problems for those companies that are clientele of PwC and KPMG. And you now need to tell KPMG and PwC, tell it, this is how we can make money through all these companies that are already your clientele, right? Because at a point when these companies were venturing all the way, pivoting into data consulting space, they already have thousands and millions of and pools of clientele that they serve through finance and auditing, right? So when you now tell them, oh, this is how we think we can make money, they begin to respect you. They get promoted easily, and they put people under you, and that's how you just create or set a career goal in any business. Just think, how can I add 1 naira more revenue, a marginal revenue, to this business, at the end of the day, as a data person? That's just is nothing more.
I hear that. Thank you so much. How can I add one every minute? So just to put that in context again, this is massive. This is massive session. Let's see. If I just want to give like an example to buttress what he said now. So, for example, how can I add 1 naira? So you know that I want to add 1 naira, and as a data person, you can't go. You are not the salesperson. One of the ways could be that there are loopholes. So I could remember there was a project when I was with Relief after, you know, when I joined, there are a lot of loopholes, right, in terms of from the sales agents. So some of them do not remit what they sell to the company. So they hit it up, but there was no trace. They couldn't trace the revenue. So they're just okay. We are doing well. We are doing well. But on the last scale, they were losing a lot of money. So what did I do? I created some avenue, okay, forms for them like this Kobo two, and I learned that from my guy here as well. Kobo toolbox. Then I introduced like 2 or 3 more metrics to for them, for particularly for those guys, the average turn rate and the rest. I can't really remember that, but I created those metrics, and in the space of 3 4 months, we were able to fetch like 4 or 5 of them. They were just siphoning the money, the fund of the company. That is now from the data standpoint, I'm not on the feed, but I was able to create metrics, not just looking at the data they have at the moment and then building a dashboard or building a report or something. No, I look
Yeah,
critically. I called some of the agents. What how do you do? What are the processes? So from that process, I discovered that there are some gaps. They're supposed to be. So they just report and then take. So they report. They buy those stuffs at the market from smallholder farmers and then take it to the head office. So, but there was that gap. So there was supposed to be like someone that checks. So the person that checks confirms second level of check and then the third level of check. So from there, we're now able to check. Okay, the first level we bought, second level check, third level check. So the variance from those level of check was where we got that loophole, and then we're able to feature. Oh, now your own knows this. One of them was, siphoning almost close to 15 million naira, just one person. So that is business side from what is that's one kobo. One
easy
kobo now.
guys.
You get? So I'm not just looking at the data the company has and then building something. Now, and that analysis is what he has just mentioned, and these are some of the skills I learned from him, trying to intricacies of data analysis, Excel, what Excel can do, writing Excel code, writing some Power Query code, just some of these tools that you think doesn't matter. That is what really makes you, because then, and they valued me a lot, not dashboard. So you can just build it. We are focusing on dashboard because I'm seeing that because a lot of people are just when I say I've started my data journey, and I would laugh sometimes. You need to bring in value. You need serious skill, and you need some of these intricacies, and that's why I'm mentioning that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, boss. I've also learned personally from this session. Is a lot of knowledge to 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 grab, right? One more questions. I think 1 or 2 more because of our time. Okay, I think you've answered that correlation between data skill and business skill. Okay, maybe I should ask. Well, what is the correlation? So, if you say data skill, business skill, what is what is um the the middle point, all right, of data skill, business skill? I think you mentioned that as well, but I don't know if you want to say something on that before I answer.
Yes.
I had yeah.
Yeah. So before you join a company, you because before they employ you already have some real skills, right? Which you think you have learned or you've acquired somewhere, right? So I think when you then get into any business, right, The middle point for you is to now establish what exactly what exactly are the business overview. What does this business really want from you, right? And then you begin to see where exactly you will sit, right? Because you will not eventually sit as a completely salesperson, right? And I could, just give you an example. I have one of my guy that worked with me in 2018 as well, or 2017. He moved to, in fact, he was one guy, who is a friend, a senior friend, who works with Nvidia now, based off now, right? So he called me and said, okay, I want you to come in and say, oh, bro, I'm doing a lot, where I'm currently, but I have one guy who can actually come in to help you guys here. And the guy has been with the company. Even the person who brought him in has actually left the company, has been in the company. And at the point in time, we're talking, and he said he wants to leave the data role in the company and go into sales, right? So in the same company, he left the data role for a certain period of time and go into sales. And he was doing like raw sales, right? He was driving around and understand what all those guys who does sales around, Lagos, experience. And then he does that. I think he did that for about 1.5 years now, and he's back to the office, and he has a very higher role now to play. And then he is now even looking for more data analysis that could actually work with him in the business, right? And what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is you would have skills when you enter a company as a data guy, right? The next thing you need to do is, what do you need? You cannot completely be a salesperson because that's not your career goal. You cannot completely become a marketing person. That's not your career goal. You cannot completely become a business development manager. That's not your career goal, right? You cannot be a chief financial officer. That's not your career goal. But you understanding, what is required of you of the business, right? It's where you actually create a level of equilibrium from the business angle and the skills you are learning, right? And let me tell you one thing, right? You can be in Money Point, for instance, and remain data analyst for 5 years if you do not sit up and say and challenge those guys who are also managers and business guys, right? That I can really do what you guys are doing. What are you
I've
guys
seen
talking
people of
about?
15 years. I've seen
Yeah.
15 years later.
So, and then what they would be looking at is that they will say you are only a support to the business. And when you
Mm,
remain
mm,
a support for to
mm.
any business, nobody cares about you because you will remain that support forever. And that is very, very important. If you remain a support for any business, you are just like a cleaner.
Mm,
You are more or less like a cleaner, who just come to the business, clean the office, and go back home, right? So if you
mm,
when you begin to look at the business holistically, right, and
mm,
say, guys, this thing we're doing this way, and then they begin to bring you into the top management discussion to say, this is it, our data guy, right? But he has contributed a lot of value to the business, right? And we need to ensure that he has more value and all of that. And I would think that because people really don't pay for skills anymore. People pay for how much you can think critically and solve problems. And
mm,
that's just what
mm,
it is.
mm,
Right?
mm.
Because in the data space now, I can
Saturated.
boldly tell you, millions and millions of people can build dashboard.
Saturated. A lot. Challenges everywhere. Every.
So if you think I'm building dashboard or I can even write Python or I can do anything, is what pays you in any organization. No. In one single day, Google sacked all the Python developer that does all Python documentation on Google. One day, forget about I am a don't just brag too much about anything that you know as skills. be humble to actually learn the business, because business pays off at the end of the day.
Mm, 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 mm. Thank you so much, man. That's a lot of wow, wow, wow. You will not grow if you don't think from the business standpoint. Business skill, very important, very important. All right. Before we entertain questions, let me just ask the last question, which is, I think, very key. Now, what are the core values, right, to generating business insight? So, more like, how do you? This is from someone. So, how do you um, build or the skills that helps you generate business value, right? How do you build it? What are the core values you need to build, right, to
Yeah,
generate
so
business insights?
yeah, so just to this is a question that I think you may need to ask the top guys in your business, right? But again, because I also now manage a business, I'm going to answer within the scope of what I understand about this, right? So um, you cannot sit down anywhere in the world and define business for a business owner, right? Because for every businesses, I can boldly tell you 95% of the business in the world now, right? If their financial year is January to December, everybody has shut down by now. They're planning for next year, right? There's something we call business plan. We do that
Mm,
for 3 months. 3 months. We do it for 3 months. So don't think it's just only data we are doing, right? When it's October 1st, which is Independence Day in Nigeria, every business, almost 25% of the business in Nigeria starts the following year planning.
mm.
And that's where you now hear them, they say they're going for retreats and all of that. Most of the time is to think about what exactly are we planning next year.
What next?
So
Mm.
yeah, so the best way you can actually get yourself into any business is to be part of the plan of every financial year of a business, because by 2025 MTN, Globacom, Nine Mobile had a new plan that is different from 2024 plan, right? Chevron, um, Total, and other businesses are already planning for 2025, which is a different plan entirely. Tesla, Microsoft, Google, OpenAI already starts planning. So you need to be part of that plan in one way, directly or indirectly, to be able every financial year to be able to see how you will be able to contribute value to the core business value, because in a business plan you do all sort of things that tell you what we call business drivers. There's something we call business drivers. Yeah, the business drivers determines how you will come about with your analysis. In fact, in your dream, if anybody wakes you up, you know the kind of analysis that drives the business. So that is just the simple truth about that. But you can again ask so many people who are top business managers in your business. They're going to give you some values around this.
Thank you so much. I think we can receive questions now. There are some questions here briefly because I want us to close in 5-10 minutes because of your time as well. So, one of them is, how do you leverage on data? Afolabi is saying, how do you leverage on data space with limited job opportunities and learning resources? How do you leverage on data space with limited job opportunities and learning resources? I think he's trying to say, with these limited resources and the limited opportunities because of a lot of people, how do you leverage your skills and the data, what we have in the data space? I think that's what he's trying to say.
So again, right? So first of all, right, if you are not currently working anywhere, right,
mm,
We'll answer the question very briefly into it. If you're not currently working anywhere, right, approach any company that you know, right, and look at some of the things that are problems within their industry. You can actually even do a freemium for a company that, please, I'm going to solve this problem and build something for you, right?
mm,
Whether it's a dashboard that you know how to build as well, whether it's you helping them to solve one problem, right, that relates to data, right? Whether you are even helping them to build a data culture, do it for free and do a free trial subscription for 3 months or 2 months or 1 month and tell them if you like it, they can bring you in. That is one. If you're
mm,
already employed and you want to change your you want to change your business to another business, right? One thing is, right, any business that you are going, that you are approaching or you are pushing for, right? Um, ensure that you have so many things that you have done in your portfolio that aligns to those businesses, problems that you want to solve. For
mm, mm,
instance, let's say you're
mm,
moving from, let's say, telco to fintech, right? What are
mm,
the things that you have done within your portfolio? Maybe you've consulted for one mushroom fintech company that speaks to what exactly they understand, right? It helps them see one or two value that you can bring into their business, and that is just how I'm going to answer that question.
All right, thank you so much. So another question here, I think that answers the question for Lobby. Chidera is saying, okay, sir, if data analysis is not dashboard, how do you get to communicate the problem solved or discovered to your audience, if not by visualizing it?
Yeah.
So,
So again, I have mentioned it that don't just get fixated about dashboard, right? Dashboard is very important, basically. Dashboard is very important, right? I'm not saying data analysis is not dashboard, but again, don't get fixated about dashboard. And there are many ways you could actually communicate. I know guys who use, when they were in GTB, right? Who he was working with cyber security guys, they do POC analysis and the likes, and he uses Linux, Linux to do data analysis.
mm,
So,
mm,
and then communicate this to the cyber security guys. So he is actually a cloud monitoring guy. So he uses Linux to communicate to cybersecurity guys. So the cybersecurity guys then implement, right, vulnerability and the likes. So it's not all the time in a company that you're a data analyst that you have to talk to the business guys. You might actually be talking to other professionals in the business and you're contributing your values, right? And you work within their team basically. And that's just, the reality about, being a data guy. So, but dashboard is also very fantastic. You can build dashboard with anything basically, right? And then you can tell a story with your dashboard and ensure that you're not just building dashboard because you want it to be fine, right? Build dashboard because you want to tell the business implications of certain things, certain metrics that are on the dashboard.
thank you so much.
I don't
That
know if you
answers it.
understand.
Just
Yeah.
yeah, very clear, very clear. That answers it. I will just say again that like what he said, that's what is important. For example, I remember there are still some companies that uses SSRS, which is a low tool for dashboarding, right? SSRS is SQL Server Reporting Service to do their reporting. So
Yeah, yeah,
Not even Power BI and the rest. So it depends on where you are, like you said. So yeah, that's what is
yeah.
important. Don't get it twisted. One other person is saying this is more technical session. So I think he's speaking to the codes you showed us that time. He's saying which tool must you be proficient to make you stand out? Must you incorporate data engineer skill as a data analyst?
Well, so we did not it's not mandatory that you
Mm,
have data engineering skill. However, the power of computing, right, is getting very, very increasing. It increases every day. Nvidia has brought up 800 with 80 gig of RAM, which is a GPU that can process data with a speed of light, right?
mm,
and the power of computing just keep increasing on daily basis. And because the power of computing keep increasing on daily basis, the amount of data that can be processed within a twinkle of an eye, becomes so very large, right?
mm,
And then this computing power then costs a lot of problem for people who will consume the data, because people don't want to consume too many data, metadata at a time. They just want to bring out what they actually need from the data, right? And then build some information, some analysis, some data science, some AI out of this information. And that's why a lot of people had to now learn, a very high-end programming language like Python, to ensure that anywhere they are in the world, they can work within a team to ensure that their data analysis job is done well. And let me give you an instance, right? In software engineering space, a
mm,
DevOps engineer does not need to know how to write a code.
mm,
The work of a DevOps engineer is to basically deploy a written code to a server. But as time goes on, people
mm,
write nonsense as code. And at the
mm,
end of the day, DevOps engineers now begin to find it very difficult to deploy codes to different servers.
mm,
Then people comes together and build a system
mm,
that saves the work of a DevOps engineer, which is what we call Docker today, right? And
mm,
then those, you know, begins to, enter into the data space as well. Now you now see guys who actually use Docker to actually, build all the orchestration in the data pipeline and all of that. And this is because there are series of problems that people cannot solve, and that's why
mm,
people have to learn these things to ensure that, oh, this problem that would make me not get this result, let me just quickly learn it and use it to do my job and get out of it. So you did not necessarily need to learn data engineering skill to be a data analyst. But again, in the future, when you want to solve a problem, you might need those skills, handful of those skills, maybe not every day, to actually solve the problem you want to solve.
mm, Thank you so
All
much.
of that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I will have want. I wanted to say something just to add to this, but I think that settles it. I feel so. One other question says, if this skill, so it's still speaking to the code. I think people who got distracted with a lot of code you showed us, and so. But yeah, if this skill is related, I think this skill is related to data science. Isn't data science quite elaborate than data analysis? That's a question
Well,
from Chidera.
so again, right?
Saying that if this skill is related to data
Data
science, yes.
science in itself, right, is very, very, in 1993, right? Um, a guy called Williams, right, coined the word data science. That was 1993. You see how
Mm,
long, because Python was actually, originated from Guru Van, and then Python actually came around 1990 because he built Python when he was going for Christmas in 1989, and then it came about Python in 1990 and 1991. So the word data science, came from in 1993 or so, where a guy called William defined data science as, combination of computer science and statistics, right? Nobody was even talking about data that time, because those days it was all about algorithm, right? To actually solve basic problem and all of that, right? Nobody knows data will now become something that everybody will be talking about, because the population of the world was not 8 billion that time, right?
mm,
So data becomes very, very big when the population of the world is also very, becoming increasing and all of that, right? So because there is an and of computer science and statistics, it makes data science becomes more elaborate, right? It's beyond just data analysis of writing Power Query or M Query or DAX and the likes, right? It goes beyond you building, an AI applications and then natural language processing and a whole lot of things, going into deep learning and all of that. So that's why it is more elaborate, basically, right? It's not that it's much more important than data analysis, but it's actually elaborate. It's elaborate because you need to learn mathematics, you need to learn statistics to ensure that you build an accurate model. That's just it, basically.
Okay, so in a nutshell, because what she's trying to say is that she's like, okay, I'm into data analysis. Will I need all this as a data analyst, or all that you showed us? I don't need it since it's more of data science, because that's what she's trying to say. That okay, I don't I think I want.
Yes. So
Mhm.
if you are a data analyst and you really don't want to go beyond just analyzing data with Excel and any visualization tool, you may not need all these because companies would forever need someone that can just give them a very low hanging fruit result within a twinkle of an eye, right? You may not need all these things unless you want to start venturing into cloud computing, or data science, machine learning, or ops.
All right. So thank you so much. This is someone just asked me this now. So he's saying, sir, I'm trying to load in a billion. I'm trying to load in a big data. It runs into billions of rows, and I'm trying to load with Python pandas, and it's not running. How do I run this? Do I use Docker or something? So I think this is off, but I don't know. Mm.
Okay. So you have a billion. If you have a billion records of data, right? First of all, right, you need to first of all understand that Python is not an orchestrator, right? Python is a programming language, right? What I think you may need to do is if you have a billion records of data, in fact, database might not be the best for you, right? You could actually choose a data warehouse, right? And then first of all, you ensure that this data is stored somewhere. And then it now depends on the format of it. Is it packet data? Is it CSV? Is it a JSON file or anything? Stores this data. If you have it in any form, right? Whether it's if it is an API front data, you might need to just extract the data using maybe Python to actually load the data into a storage. Just get it into a storage first because you are not at this point you are not doing a streaming ingestion, right? So it's a batch ingestion, right? So and if it's not a continuous batch ingestion, you can just load that data once into a storage. When you load into a storage, whether you load it into Azure data storage, whether it's AWS S3, S3 is very fantastic because it saves cost, right? Or you load it on Google Cloud Storage, basically,
Mm.
because these are storage that actually can actually take a blob, right? You can take a file, right? So you put them there, right? You can now set a data warehouse, to actually now start extracting the data from that storage to a data warehouse in a smaller chunk that you want. And then almost every data warehouse now has a sink of a SQL, right? A legacy SQL into all of the data warehouse. You could use BigQuery, you could use Amazon Redshift, you could use, you could use Azure, or Fabric or Azure, or Server Studio and all of that as well, to connect to the data from the server. So you can use different platform to now engage this data, because those ones are bigger machines, than just writing a Python code on your local file. If you are even loading a billion records of data with Python on your system, man, it's a serious issue. It's a serious issue. It's a
Yeah,
serious
thank
issue.
you so much. I think that wraps it up. Thank you. So almost an hour, 30 minutes, and it's been a
Yeah,
session. I know a lot of the people that joined have been wowed, and I know a lot of information has been released. I just want us to ensure that we start making use of it. Information that is not used is not an information. So just is not knowledge, right? So ensure that you turn this information to a knowledge, and you then start using it. Thank you again so much. Thank you so much. And if you want to, I'm going to drop his handle. His name is Rashid Abukarim um, on LinkedIn. Is You can ask him any question. You can see that he's so vast. Data science, data engineering, data analysis is very vast, very vast. And I learned a lot from him, and I know you've also learned a lot from him. Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Rashid. I'm
Yeah,
very, very grateful. Thank you for taking out time to share your wealth of experience with the people. Thank you so much. I think that will be my final words. Thank you everyone for joining. A lot We have other series coming up. I know this has been a blessing, and if it has been a blessing, just say thank you in the comment section. Just thank him in the comment section. Everybody, please, just say thank you. Thank you for joining, and see you in the next episode. All right, bye.